This happened in 2019, when I was 21. I was spending the summer at my parents' place, and one morning I just decided to go sleep out in the woods behind their house. It was impulsive. I packed a bag, told my parents where I was heading, and left around 4:00 p.m. I'd done backyard camping plenty of times before, so I didn't think much of it. I walked for about an hour through thick trees, until I found a little clearing that seemed okay. I set the tent, cleared a patch, and made a small fire. The sun was sliding down, and everything felt peaceful. It was the kind of night that makes you glad you left the house. Then, right as the sun was almost at the tree line, I heard a man talking. It wasn't loud, more like muttering. The sound seemed to bounce around the trees, so I couldn't tell where it came from. The woods there are huge and mostly untouched. No trails, nothing. So the chance of running into someone felt low. Still, the voice kept going for maybe 5 minutes. That long made me think this person wasn't just passing by. He might have been hanging around on purpose. I called out hello once, more to see if someone would answer than anything else. The second my voice left my mouth, the talking stopped. The woods went totally quiet. It made the hair on my arms stand up. I called out again, louder this time. Nothing. No response. I started to feel uneasy. With only 20, maybe 30 minutes of daylight left, I decided to move. I didn't want to sit there being unnerved while the night closed in. I pushed back into the trees, looking for another spot. After about 15 minutes, with light dropping fast, I gave up searching and picked a place among the trees. It was a relief to get camp set again before the sun vanished. Once it was fully dark, the woods were silent and heavy. Oddly, that calm felt safe. I figured if the man came back, I'd hear him. I built a small fire and sat with some snacks. I pulled out marshmallows and made some. For whatever reason, roasting a marshmallow at a campfire clears my head. It's a small comfort. I stayed by that fire for hours, letting it burn low. The flames dimmed, and the light around me was only half what it had been. I was relaxed, half listening to the night sounds, when I heard leaves crunching behind me. It sounded like it was off to the back, left of my sight. I turned to look, and whatever had been moving stopped. It was pitch black in that direction. I called out, not expecting much. A few seconds later, a man stepped from the trees into the firelight. He didn't come from the spot I'd been watching. He just appeared from the side I hadn't checked. He walked up like he belonged there and sat down near the fire, holding his hands toward the warm flames. He smiled and said, "Didn't mean to scare you." He acted casual, like this was normal. I asked him if he needed anything, and told him I thought he might be at the wrong campsite. He answered with a short no. I wasn't sure what he meant. The conversation stalled. There was this weird, stiff silence between us. I asked the one question that popped into my head, the one I already regretted the second I heard it. I asked if he was the voice ID heard earlier near the other place ID set up. He stared at the fire for a moment. His face went flat. Genocide must have been someone else, in a cold, bored tone. That reply felt wrong. It made the whole situation feel strange, in a way I couldn't explain. Before I could think of what to say next, a stick cracked behind me. From that same back left area, my stomach dropped. He wasn't alone. I turned to see. The man by the fire kept staring at me with a dead, blank look. I can't remember whether he was smiling or not. What I do remember is how cold his eyes looked. My chest tightened. I didn't wait to figure it out. I jumped up and ran. I sprinted into those woods as fast as I could. I heard one of the men mutter something in a frustrated voice to the other, and then footsteps pounding behind me. For a minute, I could hear them close, chasing. I pushed deeper into the dark, cutting through trees and brush. Growing up with those woods as my backyard helped. I knew enough of the layout to keep moving toward the road and away from the clearing. Somewhere along the way, the sound of their footsteps faded. I kept running until I hit the road and didn't stop until I reached my parents' house. They called 911 right away. In the morning, I led police back to my campsite. When we got there, everything was gone. The tent, the small fire pit, trash, nothing. That could mean a couple of things. Maybe they were just thieves and left once I ran. Maybe they had worse intentions and cleared the site so there wouldn't be evidence of what they were doing. Knowing one of them chased me for a while made the second option feel very real. It left me with a question that never went away. Why go? Were they there to rob? To scare? Something else? The not knowing was as bad as the fear. After that night, I never went back into those woods behind my parents' place. I am an outdoors person. I hike and camp a lot, but after being chased, I couldn't shake the feeling that something bad had happened or could have happened. The woods, which once felt familiar, suddenly seemed unpredictable. It was the middle of summer. A friend had talked to me once about old fire lookouts you could rent, retired towers out in the woods. That idea stuck with me as I was trying to make sense of what happened. Thinking about safe places up high where you could see everything around you. But I never went back to explore any of that near my parents' house. Thinking about that night later, there are details that still play on repeat in my head. The voice that stopped when I called out, the way the man appeared out of nowhere and sat like he belonged. The crack of the stick behind me, the shape of their footsteps when they chased me. I replay it and try to pick up clues. Maybe there were warning signs I missed. Maybe there were things I could have done differently. But nothing changes the fact that the woods no longer felt like a place I could be alone in and be safe. The memory of being alone in the woods that night turned into one of those true horror stories you can easily forget. Sometimes I wonder if telling this now makes it feel less sharp, or if it only makes the memory louder. If you've ever been alone somewhere and heard a voice in the dark, you know that small sound can turn a peaceful place into the scariest place you be ever been. For me, that night proved how quickly a night out in the woods can go from calm to dangerous. I learned to trust my instincts after that. I learned that if something feels wrong, you don't wait to see what happens next. You move. You leave. I never found out who those men were or what they planned. I only know how it felt to be chased through the trees, and how glad I am now that I made it back to the road. Even now, when I think back to that summer and the night I was alone in the woods, I get the same hollow feeling in my chest. It's a simple memory. Really, a trip I took because I felt like being outside, but because of what happened, it changed into one of those stories you tell and don't want to make light of. It's a true alone in the woods horror story. Not because something supernatural happened, but because people can be dangerous, and because being alone in the dark makes it harder to know what they mean when they say something as casual as "didn't mean to scare you."